My next guest is the Ward 3 incumbent candidate for Norfolk City Council. Justin, thanks for making time to be here today.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
No problem. I'm Zach Miller with my co-host Vance Ryne.
Good to meet you.
And we are touching base with Justin Snorton today. We're going to start a little bit, get a little background on you. Where are you originally from, Justin?
I'm originally from Madisonville, Kentucky. Before we go just a little bit further, I just want to say thank you guys for doing this and congratulations. I did listen to the episodes and with over 2,000 downloads already. So congratulations and keep this going, guys.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. We're trying real hard. We're trying to keep it organic and keep it nice. So I appreciate the feedback. So what brought you to Norfolk then?
Honestly, I knew this was one of the questions, so I just wanted to make sure I articulated it correctly, but I was chasing the dollar.
Yeah.
Honestly, job promotions brought me here. My previous position in Kentucky, I was in the poultry, and poultry facilities make a minimum amount of money overall, and which is usually good for the area. But when I applied for my position up here, the pay was significantly higher. And that was that's usually always a young person's target. Is typically the cash, how much you're going to pay me a year, because that's what the prize is at that point. So it was definitely the pay increase.
Was your area expensive cost of living there too? Was it comparable to this or less? I mean,
it was it's comparable, maybe a little bit less. I did look at the population. For years I always thought my hometown was a little bit bigger than Norfolk, and it's actually not. Okay. It's probably about 5,000 or 6,000 people less. Yes.
So pretty close though.
Yeah. So pretty close. And industry is kind of few and far between. The main was coal mines in that area, and
that's a tough job.
Yeah, that's a real tough job. So that was the highest paying job. That was the target job. But you're going to do for what you get paid. You're putting your life in danger. And I've got family members that are currently in the coal mines, and I've lost people that I went to school with that worked in the coal mines at a very young age. Yeah. But that was a target job workforce there that a lot of folks wanted.
That's crazy. I couldn't imagine working in the coal mines.
My grandfather did it for years, and I really didn't get a taste of it because I was so young. Mm-hmm. But I understood the dynamic of it. I understood the people around me and some of the folks that worked there, and just kind of the overview of being dangerous, but not the intricacies of it.
That's crazy. So how long have you been in Norfolk then?
Total about 20 years. I did leave for about 2 years. I moved to Arkansas. During my time up here, I got promoted again to the current position that I'm at with Tyson, and they moved me to Arkansas. I stayed down there for right at 2 years, and I got the opportunity to come back because with my current position, I can live wherever I want to live, basically as long as I'm close to an airport, because I travel a lot. Probably about 70% of my time is on the road.
I noticed that on your Facebook, always taking pictures of some food that you get, and that's really cool that you get to travel.
A lot of people ask me, "Is like, are you really going to these places? Are you photoshopping?" I was like, "No, I'm going. I got a few frequent flyer miles under my belt."
That's good. What were you gonna say?
That's like my aunt. My aunt works for Tyson, and she basically, she's on the road all the time. She flies all over. She's a microbiologist, I think, is what she is.
Yeah, and that's kind of a parallel to my field. I'm in the food safety, so awesome. we kind of run parallel to that.
That's great. So previously, have you run or served on any other boards, committees, or public office at all?
That's a resounding no.
That's okay.
And there's there's always a good and bad side. A lot of times you hear the bad side more. But to answer the question, no, that was never my aspiration. This was not my aspiration. The opportunity definitely arose, and I had to think about it. Pray on it, think about it, and reach out to my family about it.
Right. So what about our community is special to you?
This community has been home. When I first moved up here 20 plus years ago, I didn't know what I was coming into because I was chasing the dollar.
Yeah.
I didn't know the people. I knew absolutely no one up here. Obviously, coming from Kentucky,
That's a jaunt. That's a jaunt.
That's and and I can feel it now. Back in 20 years ago, I would go back home. Me and my wife at the time would go back home on a regular basis. That's 12, 14 hours,
right? And
it was easy.
Yeah.
Now I wish I would. No, you better give me a plane ticket at this point,
right?
I always tell people I was embraced, and it was like coming home. The people took care of me. The people recognized me and embraced me. There was not a gap. There was not an instance where I felt like I was never welcome. It felt like I was coming home to my parents' house, open arms. And it felt like that way the entire time. It was never a drop off. These people didn't know me from Adam. I was the new guy at work, at my home, at my apartment complex at the time. But I felt safe. I felt appreciated. I felt wanted, and I felt a sense of community. And that is rare, in going into a new community. So that's what embraced me, kept me here, and ultimately helped me make the decision of being on council.
That is great to hear. We hear that a lot about our community, and not just Norfolk, but the surrounding community as well. Everybody's very inviting and very.
I think we're pretty blessed here.
Yeah.
I look at it as the whole state of Nebraska. We're pretty blessed as a people that, we're all in it. We're all in it together. We're only on the world for a shorter period of time.
Right.
So why make it vicious?
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
Let's just be fun.
So then what's making you run for office again?
I saw a need to continue to be a part of community, continue to serve the community. And one thing about it, and I think it was mentioned in one of the earlier podcasts, I was appointed as you know, and I've only been around close to 2 years. You don't learn this job, you don't learn this commitment in 2 years. You don't learn it. You might get a sniff of it, for lack of a better term, in 3 years. It is absolutely a lot to learn, a lot to understand, and a lot to communicate back to people.
Yep.
And I made the commitment during my interview to the city council, to the mayor, and the rest of the people, citizens of Norfolk, to serve them. And what they've given me pushes me to continue to serve and continue to help where I can. And a couple of things that I've seen that really touch me, I feel like has been underserved, and I want to make sure those things get done. And that was our seniors in our community, and our community that may have disabilities. Now, I completely understand about growth, bringing in new people, keeping families here. That's a top priority. But one thing I've noticed, and one concern from our aging generations, don't forget about them. And I think there are some points where we forgot about them. There are some points where we have not made some concessions for our people that may have, our citizens that may have some disabilities. So I want to make sure those are on the docket, but I want to make sure to help spearhead those things to get done.
We've heard the word replacement used a lot when it comes to the aging population, and then how do we replace it? And a lot of people get a little upset about that word, right? So how do we, what are some ideas that you have to kind of help the senior population?
Well, one thing about it is the senior population, it's communication. They're not asking for a lot. They just asking to be recognized and remembered for the efforts that they put in. I believe there's the donation a couple of weeks ago to the senior center, and other things that we can continue to do and listen. I think that's just been the biggest issue, is a lot of people feeling like they're not getting heard. And I want to make sure we hear them. Of course, going across the board to the disabilities ADA access, and it was brought up in the meeting, and I had brought this up before about curb cutouts. That's a big project. Just simple things. They don't want anything extra. They want to be able to be a part of the community.
Yep.
So with with the seniors, again, it is about communication and then following through on the things that we can definitely get done for them and not forget about them across the board.
That's good. A lot of people don't think about the sidewalk cutouts like that a lot too either.
No, absolutely.
Especially because I'm trying to think of where Ward 3 all exists, but there's probably some older sidewalks.
Yes.
Whereas like up in Ward 2 up here, all those were already made for wheelchairs and things, and some of the older ones just aren't, and they need to be updated. So I agree with you.
One of the things that really touched me is you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
You don't feel you don't have an issue with. As you can see, I'm a able-bodied young man. I'm old, but but I can walk down the street. I can run down the street. My back hurts sometimes, but I don't have some of the difficulties that some people have. And people like me sometimes just don't think about it. We go on with our lives. We do what we're used to doing until we can't do those no more. And when you can't do those things no more, that's when you realize I need this. Yeah. But me, and I'm gonna speak for me. I'm not gonna speak for my ass. But for me, it was a citizen reached out to me, and curb cutouts was the topic. This citizen was not in my ward, but again, one thing I do believe is I'm not a councilman for Ward 3. I'm a councilman for Norfolk.
Right. And
I'm going to go, and I went and I walked the downtown streets, and she showed me, you know what? I still didn't feel it. She showed me the struggles that she had. It was in my mind, but I didn't feel it. And 100%, I was going to help her. I was going to reach out, and I talked to her ward councilman. So anyway, about 2 days later, I was going down the street, Main Street, Norfolk Avenue, passing it, and I look over and I see a senior citizen, older lady, helping her husband up on the curb. He was in a wheelchair. Now, if you can imagine an older lady, and she was older, that's when I felt it. That's when I understood it, that this doesn't work. I felt it at that point, and had that realization, like, okay, this is what that means. That was, and she was a frail woman, helping them up. So seeing that, and just being able to display that, and then having that conversation with the citizen previously, it really hit home, because if we don't have those difficulties, we don't know how to relate or even sometimes remember that we need to get those things in place.
Right. Sometimes you got to see it to actually understand. I get that.
We've talked about it a lot. Actually, on Useless last night, we talked about how there's always somebody in a worse situation than you are. People just you don't think about it. Like, it's just something that's like, well, and yeah, it's nice to, I'm happy that you saw that and you went through that, and it awakened you a little bit to see it.
Definitely resonated. Yeah. It kind of put that in perspective of what the actual gaps may be and the urgency for that, because people want access. They want the things that they brought downtown or any part of the city to be enjoyed, but they have to be able to get to them to enjoy them in a lot of cases.
Right. That makes sense. I'm glad you brought that up. That's the first time that piece has been brought up so far, so that's good. What are some highlights that make Norfolk stand out?
Highlights is the people, and highlights is the current progression moving forward. Even some of our previous council, older citizens, those are the highlights, because without them, we wouldn't be where we're at today. Even moving forward, you learn from mistakes. Not saying calling out anybody saying, oh, they made mistakes, but when you start something, you learn sometimes a better route to go, or hey, that didn't work out the way it was supposed to, so we got to build on it. We can't build on it today, but it's a progression. So, the highlight is the entire city. The highlight is the citizens. The highlight is at least having the conversations on some level to continue to progress, and the support we give each other at the end of the day. I know a lot of times there's bickering back and forth, but at the end of the day, when it hits the fan, we have each other's back.
We're all in it together.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
Seems a little bit family-esque, where we're, it's us against the world. We'll fight amongst each other, and then if somebody else comes in, it's like, come on, guys, just stay out of our shit. We got each other. But that's kind of the hub here. I've noticed it's kind of everybody's that way. Yeah. Like we'll all bicker amongst each other we all might want different things, but in the long term, we're fairly singular focused. Fairly, I mean, in a general direction, basically, it seems like so.
Yeah, you're always going to have some outliers, some people with different opinions. And then that's like I said earlier, it's about communication.
Right. Exactly. What do you feel Norfolk could improve on?
Again, communication as far as citywide, just continued improvement on infrastructure. I think a lot of information and a lot of things that feed sometimes negativity is just a lack of digging in and lack of asking the question. I'm 100% guilty of this. And usually when I talk about these subjects, I'm talking from firsthand. These are my experiences. I'm not going to put my opinions on anybody else or say, well, the masses think this. This is typically my straightforward opinion. But sometimes we get stuck on a subject without researching it. Sometimes we get caught with just the headline. And 99% of the time, there's two sides to the story. But the headline gets you. Yep. Whatever's in front of you, and I do it, I run with it. It's like, oh, this is the end all, be all. But then there's usually more to the story to help understand, both sides of the story. Yeah,
there's usually always two sides, and you got to kind of decipher what's true and what's not, and how it actually happened. I see that there, and communication's been a recurring theme through all these podcasts. How whether it's the council communicating with the citizens, or citizens that maybe have an issue need to bring up that issue to to their councilman to have it get fixed. If we're complaining about something and not communicating it, where do we go from there?
Yeah, 100%. And sometimes it's hard to get people to communicate because they may not want the spotlight, or may not want to be called out, or may not be put front and center. But a lot of it is communication, common sense, and balance.
Good words.
Because you can put a lot of things, a lot of problems in those categories.
Yep.
If you communicate about something and you have exercise common sense about it and go back and forth, and then you can balance it out. Everything's not going to be perfect, but you're going to be able to at least level set, at least balance through communication and common sense.
Yep.
That's why we started these podcasts, basically for those three things. Like just because we feel like it's missing in our media platforms, basically, and we're trying to get that out there. That's why we love the long form stuff, because you get a good balance of what a person really is. You're not getting snippets of something. You're not getting canned answers. So that's kind of why we started this whole thing, for those three things you just mentioned right there.
So those are great words on this podcast.
We kind of use those in our thesis, basically.
Yep.
And again, that's part of the common sense, because you look at a lot of things like, man, that solution is easy. Why are we not, on many levels, why are we not using common sense on that? Because, we can sit here and solve the world's problems because it feels like just common sense, but then why is the outcome different in, the state level, the nation level? It's common sense. Yeah. Man, let's get the balance. Why are we not talking at the end of the day?
Discussion is key.
Yeah, I've always said, like, common sense and critical thinking go hand in hand. It's two sides of one coin, basically. As not really two sides of one coin, but they go hand in hand. Like, a lot of people say common sense, but you got to have common sense, but you also have to critically think about what somebody's told you. Like, just because this person said something, this person said something, like, you want to go back into the headlines. The headlines catchy. You could have two opposite headlines, and whichever one you see first is probably where you're going to go. The article could both be exactly the same with the same outcome, but you have to literally think about that in order to get to that conclusion.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of time too. Time is so precious, and nobody has time anymore.
Yeah.
So if you get the headline, if you get the narrative out first, I grab that. I'm like, okay, that's all I need to know. That whatever the headline is, I'm not researching it. I don't have time to. I'm not going to dig into it. I'm on to the next, a la TikTok. A la Snapchat stories. Yeah. We're flipping through. It's almost before the video, whatever's done. That is how our current attention span is.
Mm-hmm.
We need it now, we need it fast, and we're moving on. I'll tell you a quick story. That just made me laugh. That just really, that happened over the weekend. I'm on a plane. Like I said, I travel a lot. What's the first thing you do when you land? You're on your phone.
Yeah.
You're checking messages. I'm checking for my kids. If anybody called, what happened, I'm looking at text messages, anything from work. You know what the lady next to me was doing? As soon as we land, the first thing she was doing, flipping through TikTok.
Yeah.
And I kind of looked over, not in a crazy way, but, just glanced over, and because I saw her flipping, it was TikTok videos. I'm like, this is the first thing you are doing with your phone.
Got to get that fix.
You definitely got to get that fix, and it's we need it now, we need it fast, and we just need that. We need that entertainment. So I just thought that was hilarious. Holy smokes! That's I'm making sure my kids are all right, or there hasn't been a fire, and
Right.
she was looking at cat videos.
Was she younger? Younger than us?
Yes.
So she's grown up with a phone her entire life. Whereas we grew up not having I didn't have a phone until out of high school and college. So it's I have a hard time understanding that generation that always had that phone. Like because I know what it does to me, and I know what it does to me when I go a day without it, or I don't deal with it. I know
Some of the best days I ever have is when I don't have my phone on.
I'm just having a fun time. Like I don't care what's going on. It's just like, it's crazy. I mean, we didn't used to get voicemails. You call back a day later type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like people couldn't get a hold of you. It's crazy. It's a crazy world.
So my son's 11, and he stayed home sick the other day, and I didn't know for sure if he was sick or if he just wanted to stay home. And I said, well, if you stay home, you're not getting there's no video games, no computer, no phone, no nothing. I get a text message at about 1 o'clock. Can I get on my computer? I'm like, no, you're not getting on your computer. You're not nothing. You're sick, remember? And I warned you this morning when you didn't go to school. No computer all day long. 2 o'clock, same thing. I drive home, have a conversation with him, and he had a complete meltdown. 11 years old. Finally, later on, he had calmed down. We had a conversation. Still didn't get it. And I said, listen, dude, if you just would have left it alone all afternoon when I got home and had a conversation with you, I probably would have let you play.
Said you're probably healthy at this
pushing
point.
it.
Yeah. So it was just one of those things. Like he finally learned, and he had a great night. He wasn't rambunctious. He wasn't. So you can definitely tell electronics make a big impact on kids' lives.
Oh, huge.
Crazy.
You telling that story, I just kind of laughed. What was our big push? When we got home,
I want to get outside.
Get outside.
I want to get out of the house.
I want to stay outside.
But it was a little bit different for me. I grew up on a farm, so I had to get your ass outside. Like I wanted to be inside sometimes. So I was like, I've been outside all day long. What are you talking about? There's only so much jumping on hay bales I can do in a day.
That's great. Moving back onto the topic, what qualities and values make you an effective leader and decision maker?
I take my time. I try to dissect information that I'm given. Fortunately, that's just what we just spoke about is quicker now. They want a quicker response. But I take my time. I try to analyze both sides of the story now. Like I said previously, I didn't. I took one side and ran with it because it was convenient. It was easy. Now I'm a little more labored with it, and sometimes even to my own detriment. Because it's just my thought process. Again, we talked about critical thinking. I like to really get into it and really understand it. And my willingness to be available to people and call them back and talk to them. There's not been one person that's called me that if I didn't get back to them immediately, I got back to them as quick as possible and follow through with what they needed from me. So being available, being approachable, wanting to get out there. And that was one thing that started me on this. You asked me that question earlier about being on council. It wasn't my aspiration to be on council. It was my aspiration to help. At the time I wanted to help another councilman with his bid for the city council. I said, whatever I can do, I stuff envelopes, walk. That's what I want to do. My history has been pretty reserved, pretty quiet. When I got on council, one of the first comments, I was scared to read it. One of the first comments was, "Who?" And and that's kind of how I've lived. I went home with the word.
That's not a bad thing for somebody to say about you as who, because then they don't know good or bad.
Yeah, right. So you get to come in fresh.
Yes, I'm
well,
under the radar.
Yeah, 100%. But that was a part of me wanting to give back to the community that gave so much to me and continue to give so much to me. So that was the catalyst. I wanted to help somebody else. This was not my aspiration. I'm glad I took the opportunity, but I wanted to help somebody else.
When you say, I just want to go back to where you said it takes longer to get answer or make a decision, and like you said, it's the critical thinking. Do you think part of that brought that upon is responsibility?
Absolutely.
Now you have a responsibility to your constituents, and so
yes, and I think that responsibility is truthful. And being honest and giving them a good answer and not pushing them off on somebody else if you don't have to. I mean, if I don't have the answer immediately, you need it, then I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to find where you can get that answer. I'm not going to just spout anything out. So yes, it's going back to being responsible for your actions and being responsible for what you're telling people, because again, it goes back to the same stuff. You're going to grab that headline. You're going to grab one of the first words that I say to you, said, Councilman Snorton said this, or Councilman Snorton, did this. Yeah. And if I give you wrong information just because I don't want to talk to you, then that sheds bad light on the city. That sheds a bad light on me. And it shows me as being irresponsible and just another person that's sitting in a seat, not doing anything for anybody else, which is sometimes the perception.
I like that answer. That's a good answer. I always like going and finding an answer instead of just giving the quick, whatever. I like that a lot. That's good. What are your thoughts on the Johnson's Park project? With 65% of the project funded outside of the city, do you think it was worth doing?
Headline grabber. So I'm going to go back to that. I was one of the ones like, what the heck are they doing? Because I listened to everybody else. So to answer your question, yes, I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a great project. It was not necessarily about the overall revitalization of Johnson Park, but what it can do for the rest of the city, the rest of Norfolk. There's a lot of at the beginning, there was a lot of focus on the rocks. There's a lot of focus on just
there's still focus on the rocks.
The rocks are daily, every day.
That's funny. Yeah.
But it gives an opportunity for growth in other areas. Yes, it provides an outlet. It provides another piece for the citizens of Norfolk. But beyond that, forward thinking, it will, and I know we'll probably walk into this, but I'll probably start it early. The project that's come up.
In hindsight, the Johnson's Park project definitely helped. Yeah.
So you can see what's immediately in front of you, but sometimes you can't see beyond your own feet. And I will readily admit that's my problem. Sometimes I don't have the forward thinking until it's laid out. It's you have to understand it. Okay, we're doing this for this at the end of the day. And sometimes you still don't see it because it's not fruition yet until somebody comes in and say, hey, you're doing great here. Let me help here because I know this is going to draw something else. So to answer your question, once again, yes, I think so. Yes, did it take a lot to get here? Absolutely. Did it have a lot of heartburn? Absolutely. But sometimes progress is heartburn. Sometimes progress, is pain. If you look at me now, I went through a lot of pain. I used to be 240 pounds, and to get down here to what I am, like 170.
You look great.
It was painful.
I'm sure.
But it was progress. It was something that, okay, we had an end goal, and a lot of folks didn't see the end goal, didn't see the big picture, because it did cause a lot of strife. In speaking for me, I didn't understand it. I heard from Joe or Chuck or Harold. These are fictional names, by the way. That this is terrible. This is the worst thing. And I'm like, you're right. This is ridiculous. What are they doing over there? But being able to understand the bigger picture and then what it could mean or can mean or will mean for Norfolk. Absolutely.
Sometimes our thought on it, I've grown a little more to like it, especially now that with the big projects coming in. But our side of it sometimes here on the podcast was that, yes, we got most of it or over half of it paid for, but then it was still a massive chunk of money coming from the city. So it was kind of like a, obviously now in hindsight it's there, but if that wouldn't have happened, maybe it was a kind of a waste of funds. But that's just me speaking.
Yeah, and and again, that's a part of the communication of the who, what, when, and why. Why do I feel this way? Help me understand. It may be a bigger picture. Will we get this back? Then have those conversations. And doing this podcast, helps that. It perpetuates those conversations. Yeah. Even if you stay on that different side of the track of opinion, somebody else, at least that knowledge is there. And you can say, well, didn't work, or yep, you know what? Maybe I was wrong a little bit, but
yeah, I just like open discussion and not throwing things out in an echo chamber.
Using the rant, just like, it's just rocks, whatever. I don't like that argument. My argument has always been, it's still money spent. I don't like government spending money on frivolous things. I want infrastructure, police, roads. That's about it. Like, just my personal view of government is let the private sector deal with all the rest of the stuff. Let's make sure the infrastructure, roads, that type of stuff is taken care of, and then privatize everything else. But that's kind of how I feel. And I know we're not there, and it's never probably going to get there, but that's my political leaning, I guess, or view of what I would like to have happen. And so that's why I'm going to be against something like that.
Yeah, and when you see it, you put it out like that. So, hey, if you're going to do something, okay, you take care of it. But it's the city things, they should take care of it. Yeah. But a lot of time, again, it goes back to one of the key things of this podcast. One of the key things is balance. How are we going to balance it out? Yep. So we make sure everybody's a part of it, at least for the most part, for the foresight. And
I, like he said, I've seen better things, and I think it'll be all right, but it's one of those things I may never come around to, but we'll see what happens.
Yep. It takes a lot to change his mind. So.
I don't even live in Norfolk, so I didn't vote on it. It doesn't affect me that much, but it's one of those things it's just frustrating at times.
And have an open dialogue about that, and you voicing your opinion, even if you don't live here. You commute here. Yeah. You're here now. Heck, you may go get something, eat something to drink on your way back home. But so, you're still a part of this community, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Definitely. Do you think any other parks need looked at?
Yes. I think they all need to at least be reviewed. Central Park, I think, is one that definitely needs, it's in the name, Central. Mm-hmm. Central Park, but again, you got to start somewhere, and you crawl before you can walk. The whole sentiment. So yes, to answer the question, yes, I believe more parks need to be looked at. Things need to be adjusted, and updated, so all of our citizens across the board can enjoy it. Maybe they can't get all the way over to Johnson. Central is maybe as far as they can go. But to answer your question, absolutely.
Yeah, Central seems to be a recurring theme too. That seems to be one that needs to be looked at. Definitely, and it's a great park. Just needs a little facade updates.
So, I guess one of my questions, it was brought up on an earlier podcast about it was weedy and the grass wasn't taken care of. Instead of spending tons of money on just absolute rebuilds on parks, do we need to look closer into making sure our maintenance budget and our upkeep is kept at a better level than maybe it has been in the past on some of these parks? Because if we're just going to way upgrade it, spend a whole bunch of money on upgrading parks, but then we're not going to keep them up, keep them looking pretty, get really good maintenance on stuff, then we're going to have the same problem 10, 15 years down the road.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes. I think that incremental funds needs to be allocated to the parks, best as possible. Yeah. I don't have my hands in it per se as far as budget wise, but the 25,000 foot view is like, if we've got it, we should be taking care of everything. Yep. Yeah. The 5 foot view is sometimes that's not feasible. And that could be due to staffing, money wise, focus on other areas. So let's get this area fixed first, and then that's next on the agenda. Yeah. That would be my thought process about it and moving forward with it. And I absolutely understand and agree with what you're saying, that
I'd like to see a good upkeep started, like with existing facilities, maintain it, get it looking better, and then you go in and make the upgrades on certain stuff, because you can make stuff look good. Like you can. It's just work. Yeah. I mean, that's all it is. Labor.
It's PM. It's preventive maintenance. Grass cutting, painting,
spraying,
spray. Yep.
Seeding, stuff like that. But
do you think that the ball fields out at Tahoe still need looked at after the yes vote deal went down?
Absolutely. That's an area that should not fall off the radar. Because that's an area that people gravitate to. You got young, you got older that play softball. You got the kids coming up with the leagues. So yeah, absolutely. That's an area that we need to focus on and continue to grow. Because that's a huge part of the community. I mean, with the baseball tournaments, people coming in from out of town. That's another area of financial input or push to our community.
Definitely. With the yes vote, how do you feel about putting so many things together in one vote like that? What are your thoughts on that? Because we're kind of we like single issue votes. What are your thoughts on having such a big project like that all put into one deal?
Immediate perception. Again, that was one of the things that I looked at and I was like, what the heck? Why? And then the initial feedback on it was not positive. Again, I gravitated to that. But yes, I'm a single vote person. I would have liked to see a single vote. However, I would have liked to understood why at the beginning. And again, I put that onus on me of not going and researching and understanding it. So I took it and I ran with it. And it was like, okay, this is my thought process. Oh, I see most people don't, or I see the signage. That's the first thing I saw, signage. Nobody, okay, don't vote for this, don't vote for this. Okay. Again, that was my single focus on seeing that. If I would have understood the why of we put them together like that in the beginning, then maybe I would have had a little bit more balance. Me personally, I would have had a little bit more balance. I still think it would have, even if you had that, it would have been extremely tough to get that passed, even if you had all the information, because a lot of people, a lot of things that were on that, from what I heard, were not happy with, or would not want, wouldn't vote for. And then you get the sentiment of, well, we're passionate about the police station, so we're going to put that on there, and then we're going to throw these other things in there because we can probably get the passion from the police station. That was the sentiment, and that pissed people off. Yeah, from what I heard.
Yeah, it makes people feel like you're trying to pull something shady. That's what it feels like, and I mean, whether it's a police station or whatever it is. But I would venture to guess, anecdotally, I think I would venture to guess maybe a majority of the yes vote would have passed if it was all single votes.
Yeah.
As opposed to all in one. And because, like you said, it just, even if you're not being shady about it, and I know I understand the concept of why you would do it, because it's a little bit for everybody, and I get that totally. I could totally understand that. But then there's the people out there that are like, you're pulling something over on me. I don't want this. You're just forcing this down my throat.
And a lot of that comes from the federal government side. A lot of people are scared because up there's hundreds of things put into one vote, and it's like, oh man, are they doing that here in town too?
Yeah. So yeah, you get that fear. Yeah, and it's like, okay, this is filtering down. My nice community is starting to turn into a big, huge government entity.
Right. Yeah. I don't think we have to worry about being a huge government entity, but I think all government needs to be one dude in a room doing nothing, just sitting there. That's me. That's my weirdness.
While we are developing downtown, do you feel that the rest of the town is maybe getting overlooked?
I feel like there's discussions about others area of town. I feel like it's we've done downtown, and it's kind of gotten saturated, and then it's kind of and then it moves into, well, what about us? And I know there are conversations about the South Side, and again, it's one of those things that downtown didn't happen overnight. a lot of things, a lot of zoning, a lot of, the infrastructure, the money those discussions are going to have to be made. I don't want to say, all other areas are getting neglected because they're not. They're in the infancy of getting started.
Right. Downtown
has been a huge topic of conversation. So I think it's kind of at the point where it's kind of getting saturated, and it's kind of people, I don't want to say tired of hearing about it, but they know about it. And it's been a reoccurring topic of conversation, but so has the other areas. I've sat in on a couple Southside revitalization meetings, so it's there, it's coming, but it just takes time to build. And again, that was one of the things that I'm a want it now type of guy too. It's like, okay, why can't do this?
Give me mine. Give me mine. You got yours. Give me mine.
Yeah, give me mine. You you got yours, but heck, I forgot about the sewers. I forgot about the drainage. I forgot, just the infrastructure that's going to take to change that. And again, communication, understanding that balance. Like, crap, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. Kind of goes back into that where you said on the vote. Like, some people look at it as like you're trying to pull something over on me or something like that. It's just so everybody keeps hearing downtown, hearing downtown, and then it's a perception that somebody's like, you don't care about my part. And I think that's the wrong view, but I know people get tired of hearing about one area and not the rest of it.
Yeah, we've definitely gotten that sentiment about downtown. Even on the podcast, we interviewed quite a few people from downtown. And like, you guys are just interviewing downtown people. Not really, but
it just turned out.
It just turned out that way.
Well, we knew Andrew. So.
Yeah. I mean, you grab onto the headline. You grab onto what's good, and then after that has run its course or gone so far, it kind of turns against you. If anybody and I think you guys are, sports or basketball fans.
Yep.
Warriors. Everybody loved the Warriors, the underdog, the great guy. Now it's like, dude, if they don't go the heck away, the core is still the same, but it's like, all right, we've gotten our fill. We've gotten our fill of it. I'd rather see somebody talk about somebody else.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree with that.
I've never heard it explained that way, but that's completely true.
That's completely true, yeah.
I was a Warriors fan because I hated LeBron, so it's a little bit different for me.
That's funny. Can you speak on future street plans? Many streets in Norfolk need attention. How will you fight for what you think needs to be done in your ward or any other wards?
Well, again, that goes back to me driving my streets, me listening to the community, what we need. I'm not well known, so I don't get as many calls. I've gotten several. And when I say several, that's probably a minuscule to some of the other councilmen. But again, being a part of the community and actually being out there talking to people, and then being out on the roads and being able to provide feedback of what to fight for, and being able to understand what is achievable. I think the direction is going in. I think it is going in the right direction to focus on roads and to focus on that structure, because it is needed. Fortunately, it's not an overnight thing. Fortunately, it costs a boatload of money.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if we let it go too much longer, it's not going to be an overlay. It's not going to be a quick fix. It's going to be a complete reconstruction.
Yeah.
And I think
that's not cheap either.
No, absolutely not. And I think the staff now, the council members now know and understand that, and know what our limitations are, and then how we're going to have to build that and get that going. And so, would 100% support that the best way possible for the citizens of Norfolk. That's fiscally, safely, and having that good structure that's going to last. I don't want anything to last 20 years. That sounds crazy, but it's like, 20 years is a long time. But you want something to last 50, 75, 100.
Almost a generation, ideally.
Yeah,
that's kind of where you wouldn't do.
Mm-hmm. And every time a new street gets closed to get fixed, there's always somebody, why?
We're shutting this one down.
We're shutting this one down now? God dang it. I can't do whatever. It's like, why can't we do it in the summer? Well, because it doesn't matter. They got to do it when they can do it, I always try to say, I'm all for, fixing the streets. So, because they obviously need it. What are your thoughts? This is one of the bigger topics. What are your thoughts on tax increment financing, or what is your knowledge of that?
Tax increment financing, that is one of the best. TIF was one of the finest 3 acronyms, whatever it is, that I've heard in my life. I had no idea what it was. But you know what the scariest thing is tax. And when people hear tax, I don't know. I don't want more taxes. TIF is a good tool if it's used correctly. TIF is absolutely a wonderful tool if it's used correctly on the correct projects. I'm not an expert by any means
We
on
aren't either.
TIF. I'm still learning TIF. But you know, the 25,000 foot view is, if TIF is used correctly, it is an absolute benefit to the city and to whatever community that it goes into.
The more and more I've heard on it, I appreciate it. I think it's a good thing as long as it's used correctly, like you said,
and not abused.
That's
kind of what the biggest complaint from people is. It gets abused, and it's and I think it's that blighted word, the dread blighted word, is a huge. And what we've kind of learned from talking to people is that it's kind of opened my eyes a little bit from the conversations we've had, and I think that's the biggest scary word for everybody, is that blighted word.
Yeah, and it's when it's getting blighted and why it's getting blighted. And it sounds like, from what I've heard, there hasn't been too many high value things blighted in town, but it could be a possibility. Things have tried to be that way. So my big thing is, why would we want to blight a high value property just for TIF?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, that comes down to, you know, the contractor asking, you know, and we as a council, because that comes before us. We have to look at all the information and make sure we are voting accordingly to the information that we're given. And it's probably been a couple weeks ago. A developer came to us and showed us some blighted information. And for me personally, when I initially seen it, I was like, it doesn't add up for this area to be blighted. And it was pretty obvious that we definitely had concerns about it. We do have a really vocal council. They do ask questions, and that helped me understand, helped me kind of mold my decision, not based off what they said, or they pressure me or anything. Because I think I did vote no on it, because it just did not fit the bill for what we needed. It may have statewide or the overall regulations, but at that moment in time, the information in front of me did not meet the criteria for a common sense blighted area.
That's kind of what we learned, or the first time we talked about it was that it was the state had guidelines, and that you guys did have the ability to say, just because the state says that this should be this way doesn't mean it is.
Right.
That's what I had been most complained about, is like high value, not even like buildings and stuff, just real estate. High value area could, like, we're going to blight that. We're going to call that blighted. Come on, guys.
100%. And, and just really still understanding TIF and understanding, the need for it, and then when and how it is used. I think a lot of information or initial information that I got without doing the research was, okay, well, this developer don't have to pay taxes. Well, that's not true. They still got to pay taxes on that property, at the baseline. Yeah. And it's, overall it's carried out. And then those dollars will come back on the roll at whatever increment. What is it, 15 years?
15 years, yeah.
Or
sooner.
Yeah, or sooner. And it's typically been sooner. I think roughly around 7 years, a lot of them have been paid off within that time. I don't have the exact number, but a lot of them have been paid off well before that 15-year mark. And I don't have these figures, but there was a conversation about one of the grocery stores, and when it was put in, I think it was Hy-Vee East, years and years ago. I believe that used TIF funds. Well, okay. If that just sat there, we'll just do a basic $1,000 on that property. They're paying that taxes on just that $1,000 worth of property. Well, if you help a developer put that building up, and that comes off the tax rolls. Well, what is that worth now? It could
Now
be
it's worth a lot more.
Yeah, now it's worth a lot more. And that the $1,000 that you were getting a year for just that property that's not sitting there, that's just sitting there doing nothing, now you're getting $50,000 a year. So that kind of helps bring it into, you know, a little perspective of, you know, the right project at the right time at the right location.
Yeah.
You know, that's what TIF is for.
Like you said, I liked your answer. Common sense. Just go with the common sense. I like that a lot. What are your thoughts on the EPIC option? I know it's a state thing. We've just been trying to get everybody's opinion on it. Do you know much about that?
I don't know a lot about it across the board. But when you go again, going to work, looking over, oh, no property tax, right on. That's wonderful. But then you have to make sure you have your critical thinking on what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't have money coming in from somewhere, if we find another source for it, what is that source going to be, and how much is it going to affect the people? You know, whether it be increase on groceries, whether it be increase, you know, just on general consumption. One, will it be enough? And then, you know, two, how is it going to affect you, you know, overall? You know, everything may look good on the surface, but you got to make sure you dig into it. Because if you tell me that I don't have to pay property tax, heck yeah.
That's the first thing that's catching everybody's eye.
Yeah, because it hurts. And that's been such a hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
It's also income tax.
Yeah.
And income tax.
Income tax.
Yeah.
Everybody
Both
should be getting income. Yeah. If you're not getting income, then, I mean, that's you kind of. There's plenty of jobs.
We didn't notice at first, but there is no taxes on groceries with this option, and we think, or Vance brought it up. He thinks
I believe there should be grocery tax. Yeah. I believe all groceries should be taxed.
That would be
everybody
the
eats.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's not the answer. Like, it's not going to fix everything, but it makes it fairer. That's the way I've always. I'm about trying to find the fairest way we can possibly find to get everybody to pay some taxes, as opposed to having 10% of the people pay 90% of the taxes. Let's get it closer to like 50-50 or 40-50. But I mean, the problem is a lot of people get, like you said, get caught in by these guys, these headlines like, oh, the richest don't pay their fair share. Well, they're paying all the taxes. Like, maybe they're not paying the same percentage you are, but all the tax base is coming from the richest people, the people that own the most stuff. The land, they already own the land and they're paying the taxes on it, or they're making payments to the bank and paying taxes on it at the same time. So I'm just trying to find a way. I really think we really have to. Maybe this is it. Maybe this isn't it. We have to find a way to try to find the fairest way through for everybody to pay a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I would agree with that. At least goes back to the top. Goes back to one of the tops. A balance, at least some balance. Yeah. You know, just like you mentioned, a landowner that made multiple lots or whatever, he's gonna pay a little bit more. Maybe somebody not owning land, you know, but everybody's going to eat.
Yeah,
we're finding that little bit of balance. Everybody's buying groceries, so they pay, you know, their little bit share. Is this the answer? We don't, I don't know. You know, exactly. We
I love this because it's bringing the conversation up for everybody. That's why I love talking about it, because it's getting people to think a little bit. Like, our tax system needs some changes somewhere.
Yeah,
how do we get there? I don't know.
It's not perfect. It needs to be adjusted, but it's a good for discussion.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with Vance, because it may not be perfect in both of you, but it may not be perfect, but it brings up the conversation of, okay, if this is not perfect, at least it's an option of, you know, a bigger discussion. Okay, how can we keep turning that dial to, you know, alleviate some of the issues and, you know, make it balanced, make it even, and continue to have these conversations. The one thing I would just continue to echo is when these things come out and you see the headline, look deeper. Understand it, you know, because again, I'm guilty of it, because I was like, yes, no more taxes, and I drove on by, and you know, was happy as a lark, you know, I was like, man, this is gonna be awesome, but I need to read it, I need to understand, because there is a yin and yang to everything. It's got to be balanced.
We're going to do a lot more research on this subject alone. I mean, we're going to have 3 legislatures running in our district. 3 legislators running for the legislature are going to be on too. And so we'll get into a little bit more than you don't have anything to do with that at the city level, but on the statewide level, hopefully they are versed in it too. So hopefully we learn a lot more.
Hopefully.
And that's one of the things that I need to be challenged with, because, who are people going to come to? They're not going to always have access to the legislator or, the governor or, whatnot. So like, hey, what do you know about this? Like you guys asked me, that's an absolutely fair question. If it's good to have at least some baseline feedback, for the people that it ultimately affects. And then, it just give them the opportunity to, okay, well, at least he knows something, and I got a little bit more information about it that maybe I can build on.
I always say it's good to know a little about a lot. You got to have your core things that you know a lot about, but it's always good to know a little about a lot. And I stand true to that all the time.
And know where you can find the answer too.
Right.
Like you said, like if you don't know, if somebody comes to you with something and you don't know the answer, I got somebody that is going to be able to give you an answer that I trust, that's going to give you what you need to know. Mm-hmm. Like that's the key, is like, if you don't know, don't lie to me. Don't even bullshit me. Like just say, hey, I don't know exactly. This is my thoughts on it, but I think this person maybe knows a little bit more.
Yeah, and and unfortunately, some of our demographic is easier for some folks. The people that may read the paper versus the people that have knowledge and just to know how to work a computer. Yeah, you're only going to get so much information from the newspaper. You're only going to get so much information.
Ran into that last week.
Information from you and I, but some people have access to computers, just dig and dig and dig. So even going out and find, you want people to go out and find information. Sometimes they just don't have the know-how, or some people just don't want to. I'm not messing with. We got a vast amount of information at our fingertips.
As long as you know how to find it.
As long as you know how to find it, it's absolutely there. And sometimes, unfortunately, that's tedious even for, the finest of computer software designers or, casual, like me, casual, it's like, oh, I'm sick of reading this small print.
That's right. Because a lot of people think, well, I just got Google. I can just Google it and just take the first one through. No, sometimes, bro. Not all the time.
Not all the time, for sure.
Sometimes it'll take you 5, 6, 7 pages to get to the... I've seen articles that I know are there, and it takes me... I got to get to the 10th search pages to find that article. So, I mean, it is tough.
It is, for sure. How do you feel about the addition to the Norfolk Police Division, adding about 8,000 square feet?
100% support it. We just had I can't remember their official title, but
the committee.
The committee, yes, the committee put a proposal in front of us to review that. I'm glad that is absolutely moving forward. There's some options out there. But yes, the police force, the police building are critical parts of every community, and especially this one. Those men and women put their life on the line for us, and they should have the appropriate facilities. I've toured the facility. When I first got on council, that was one of my first stops, was the police station. And the need that they have is absolutely astronomical. Unfortunately, it hasn't been an option or available to them to expand hurdles and whatnot. But yeah, 100% support the police station and everything that they do, and they need that space to continue.
They do. A lot of people, I'm sure I didn't know, and I'm sure a lot of people, listeners didn't know that there was so much evidence in there that they were like overrun. Yeah. Just by evidence.
Yeah. And a lot of that you can't get rid of, high profile cases and, things like that, because you never know what might come back on a
cold
appeal.
Cases or
and you have to keep that organized. And when you have small space and hard, where to stack stuff and put stuff, that makes that difficult. And, at the end of the day, that could be an issue for somebody's overall justice.
So when you say the committee, that search committee or whatever, they've come back with, did they give you multiple proposals, or is it just what happened?
They drilled it down to one.
They got one proposal.
Yeah, some of the committee members were there. I think most of them were there to talk to it if they needed to. I think they felt the best option would be to drill it down to one. They went through all options. I don't know what they I don't know what they are because they proposed. They put that one proposal in front of us, but I feel like they did do their due diligence.
Yep.
And it was nobody on that committee that I felt was in cahoots, for lack of a better term, or I know a lot of them didn't even know each other.
Yeah.
And, had never met before. So it was a diverse group of thinkers, but they had one mission. It was to figure out how to help the citizens of Norfolk and the police division, with that growth. So instead of throwing a lot of options, they were able to boil it down to one. This is the best out of the many options that we had.
Gotcha.
It was a 0.5% sales tax over 4 years is what they proposed. I think the police division needs it for sure, so I'm not against that whatsoever. Can you give some thoughts into how the oversight of the North Fork Transit is being handled?
I think
is being handled.
We'll go out was being handled first, and then go. Obviously, it turned out unfortunately terrible, and I think that was due to just trust. We are a trusting community. We saw a need. People were put in place that they thought was going to help that need, and there were some gaps, those years that it was in, that were definitely pulled out. Going forward, I've said on one meeting, I think it was the meeting the transit had looked at us to request the donation. The staff is buttoned up. They have checks and balances in place, so things won't slip through the cracks like they did before. I think going forward is definitely a need. Continues to be a need, and in the infancy, you have to let things grow and mature naturally. You're going to have your bumps and bruises. Unfortunately, previously that was a huge bump, but aside from that, understanding the need for Norfolk, the need for passengers, and then really kind of calling it down to that. I think. And at times they were buses kind of driving, maybe only had 2 or 3 people on it that I saw, and that initially looks like, what in the heck, this is why things kind of go awry. But then business side, okay, we got to understand the need, and then we'll be able to call down from there. Okay, we got 50 trucks out, maybe we only need 2, doing. I'm just throwing numbers out there between 2 and 3 p.m.
Yeah.
And understand the need, understand the business, and build it that way, and build the transit that way. Again, it's going to be one of those progressive things. And with the unfortunate incident that happened before, it makes a lot of people gun shy.
Mm-hmm.
Gun shy to support it, gun shy, to ride it, gun shy to put their money in it. Across the board until they continue to see it progressing, until they see it grow. I'm one of those people that would initially be gun shy. And like, if I didn't have the meeting or wasn't in there on it, and it was just presented to me as a citizen walking down the street, I'm like, you guys this didn't go well the first time.
Yeah.
How are you going to convince me that it's going to go well this time? And that's me with being just the outside looking in citizen. But, having the insight, things are buttoned up a lot better now. Again, it's kind of starting over. So we're going to have to figure out the best routes, times, and buses, and usefulness of those, because there is a need there, and it's going to continue to grow.
I would agree. I think from what we've heard, I think they got the right people in place right now to oversee it. So I think we're okay with it, I think. So far.
I was always a big thing about, I'm sorry, in the way Norfolk was set up and what it's always been, is a route was never the first way to go right away. Like, why are we doing full-time routes? Like, you got to build your clientele. And like you said, like, we should have started first time. We're going to start with calls. Like, we're going to do a schedule service. Somebody calls me to come pick them up. We're not going to run a bunch of big buses. Let's start with vans. If we outfill our vans, then we're going to go somewhere else. And then we're going to find, like, your routes for schools would be good. Yep. You could work with the schools, do routes with schools. I have no problems with that, because then your set times, what you're doing, communicating with parents. This is what's happening. But to have, like you said, empty buses running around, I saw buses with 1 or 2 people, but I saw a lot of buses with 0 people. And good sized buses. We don't need good sized buses. That's a lot of money around this time. You know, you're just burning fuel, burning man hours. You're burning fuel. You're burning all this stuff for what? Just to look out there. Like that's, and like you said, like, so hopefully they got that figured out. And yeah, I think maybe they made the wrong path at the beginning and just kind of look at it, build your clientele up. Would have helped a lot more.
Yeah. You know, building the business learning curve, you know, you jump in the pool, you can't swim, then you gonna 2 things gonna happen. You
Especially
figure it out, you going down.
Yeah. Especially in a town that's not used to it.
Yep.
Right.
So like, I know there's people that need it. There's a lot of people that need it, and it'd be a good benefit for them. But if they don't know it's there, and all of a sudden it's there, and they don't know really, like you're not going to build a clientele. It's going to take well over a year. You're going to lose all kinds of money in a year if you're not doing it the right way. So,
and I still do think that maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights there should be a bus available at night for people out about in town.
Yeah, agree.
If we really care about DUIs, that's the path. We need something.
Yep.
And that could be that's a moneymaker. Like, and then you could run a bus, like a mini bus or whatever, taking a bunch of people.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, you know, that's again a beginning things of business. You know, what is your business model and where is your niche market to help you grow, even at least from the baseline?
Yeah.
You know?
Do you feel that we have an aging demographic in town, and how can we make sure we have population growth in the future?
I don't think we have an aging demographic. I think they are the most conscious. So I think we hear from them more. And that may feel like there is an aging demographic. So I don't know the numbers per se.
We got them up here.
Okay.
So we don't feel there is either. We got approached about this question. Only 16% are persons over 60 or 65 and over, and then we've only got 7% 5 and under, and then only 24% under 18. So there's a big chunk of people in that 19 to 64. I don't feel like, and we have a lot of people our age group in town too. I don't feel we have an aging demographic at all.
No, like I said, I don't think we do, and obviously these numbers kind of pan that out. I just think they're more aware, and I think their voices are heard a little bit more. I think a lot of the younger group don't push the envelope for city. You know, like me when I was younger, I just wanted some money. You know,
it doesn't quite affect them yet.
I didn't know who the mayor was. You know, I didn't even understand that. But as you get older and understand these things and have a voice, because you understand it, and there's a bigger picture for you, a different picture, I should say. I think they are the most talkative group out of the populace.
Our actual concern was the persons under 5 at only 7%. We're a little worried that maybe we're not having enough babies in town.
Well, I'm not even sure that I should even comment on it. I've got 8 kids. So
you're contributing just fine.
You're doing your duty.
That's great. I don't know how you keep up with all that.
I'm at the zero.
I got 2, and I can't keep up with all of it. That's interesting. That's great.
You even overtook Ryan over there.
Yeah, I got 4, so.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, and with that, with the persons, under 5 with that 7%, I think a lot of younger conversations that I've had, I think the sentiment's really grown that I just don't want to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
people.
the conversations, that I've had. That's a lot of younger, and I don't know an age or demographic, but I'm just saying younger folks. So I can't say 24 or less or whatever it is. But just a couple conversations I've had. They're not necessarily interested in having kids, and they're not necessarily interested in owning property, which blew my mind. I'm like, man, you want to pay rent for 40 years. Well, it's maintenance. I don't have to cut the grass. They gave the list of things which made sense at the time, but it's still kind of like, boy, that'll be yours. At the end of the day.
I get that concept, and then people do that, and then they're not paying attention to rent prices going up, and then they bitch about the rent prices going up. Well, yeah, your rent price is what your mortgage could possibly be or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's something that people need to. Again, that goes into critical thinking. Like it's just easy for me, so I just want to. Why do I want to do the maintenance? Why do I want to cut the grass? Well, yeah, you're not getting paid to do that stuff. And it may cost you a little more to do some in time or a little bit of money, but you're better off in the long run, probably.
Speaking of rent, I just heard the other day is an older building, 2-bedroom apartment, $2,000.
Is that Norfolk or New York
That's in
City?
Norfolk. That's in Norfolk. I'm like, you could go buy even right now with the interest rates, you could go buy a pretty decent house for $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
It's just, it blew me away.
Expand on what what you're saying and what Vance just said. That balances off. It's like, hey, I just want to live here in this apartment for $1,600 versus $1,500, even $1,600 house payment. You're doing the same, and end of the day, that's
yours.
It's your tangible.
You got it. I don't understand that either.
You're paying the money on your mortgage, but you're paying it to yourself, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you're paying it to the bank, but it's paying to you to have this fungible asset.
Critical thinking, big picture.
Hopefully it turns around a little bit.
$2,000 for
two-bedroom apartment.
Wow.
And that doesn't include
that's in Norfolk.
and that doesn't include all the utilities. That only includes water and trash. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it.
$2,000. Wow.
$2,000. We'll move on. How can Norfolk stay competitive with other communities for new business, innovation, public safety, and population size?
Infrastructure. Continued growth on it. Infrastructure, and having that infrastructure there that will invite new business. Because they have to operate, and they're going to pull certain resources from Norfolk, and if we don't have the capacity to meet that, then that's like, well, we'll move on, or we'll get it in 5 years. Well, we don't have 5 years to wait. So I think it's really about just the infrastructure. Even if it may not be an immediate new business, infrastructure is still needed, because even though those numbers are low, we're looking at the persons under 5. They're still going to population's still going to grow. It's some increments, and things are going to age that we already have. So we got to be prepared for great growth, incremental growth, and age of the things that we already have.
I think a good way to get that under 5 number up too, and it works, is by getting more jobs for 20 to 40 year olds. That's where you get those families forming and getting kids made and stuff like that. Bringing people in that aren't generally from this area, possibly, so that number could grow by doing that too.
Yep, 100%.
Good jobs.
Yeah, good jobs. Yeah, good solid jobs, and and then what's that going to take though? Where are we going to help meet the need for those people to bring those jobs in? Kind of go back to TIF.
Well, it goes back to you too.
Yeah, infrastructure.
You came up.
Yeah.
You brought in kids by coming to this community for a job.
Yep.
Basically, a good job.
Yeah. Opportunities. I came for the job, stay for the people, stay for the community. At the end of the day, there's always been kind of complaints, and even I've complained. I want to stay here. I don't want to go to Omaha all the time.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Sioux City all the time. Not that they're not great places, or I just don't want to take 4 hours out of my day on the road and go enjoy something with my kids. So that was always kind of the thing I wanted here. Can we grow here so we can stay here and put our dollars here and enjoy those family things here?
I wanna touch on that real quick, because you brought that up. You brought Omaha up. What's your thoughts on the 4-lane?
As a person that travels, it almost feels like daily to the airport. It can't come fast enough.
Do you think it helps Norfolk or it hurts Norfolk?
I think in the long run, it will help Norfolk because I think it would help just that travel back and forth from the pieces that I've already driven on.
But it's just us here in Norfolk. It's not going to bring anybody from that direction this way.
Well, it'll at least allow them to come, and it won't be such a like tedious trip. Because if you build it, they will come. They may not come in droves, and they may not, move here. And I think I heard one. I can't remember who it was. Even if the commute, they were talking about the commute from Omaha to Norfolk. If we had the 4-lane, maybe they would kind of do the bedroom community. Because they can get there in 45 minutes, hour, or whatever time that would take off. I had a tough time with that because that's still a long way. Yeah, that's still a long way.
I mean, I love it. I think it's awesome that I can make it to Omaha in an hour and 10 minutes, but right now I can make it there in an hour and 30 minutes. So why do I give a shit about the 4-lane?
Because it's about being a quick information. That 20 minutes save me 100 years at the end of the day.
I do think it will help, and maybe not them, Omaha coming here, but I think it will help keep people here more because they won't have to. They're like, I should just move to Omaha. If I'm having to go there so often, maybe I should just move there. If it's going to take me an hour 30, hour 40 every day or whatever.
Maybe
I think it might help keep people in Norfolk.
Yeah, and speaking from me, it did create a sense of like, man, this is not so bad, because I've been doing it for 18 years or however long it was. Because like I said, I moved up here and I worked here, and I've had this job that I currently have for roughly 18, 20 years. So I've been commuting back and forth to the airport. So all those years, whenever I had to fly out anywhere, obviously. So it did weigh on me, and I did think like, man, I just move to Omaha because this is nuts. I can't, we can get in the car, can go sleep and drive that, but it wore me out,
Gotcha.
And then when I got home, I'm not home.
Yeah.
I'm in Nebraska, but I got 2 hours to go, and I know it's going to be 2 hours. I don't. There is no other route that I'm going to go. That is not going to be. So it did give me that sense of, man, okay, this is not so bad. I can do this. Give me that rejuvenation. So I think that point that's a good point. That but still, we want to keep things here.
That's the only argument I've ever heard that made me think, maybe. I've just never. The other arguments I don't like.
Yeah,
that one I like that one.
Yeah, it's definitely not gonna. I really don't think it's gonna bring.
It's never gonna bring
here.
money in.
Yeah,
it'll never bring money in.
But I think it'll keep money here.
It could
to an extent.
That. Yeah, I respect that answer, and that's the first time I've ever heard anybody tell me that. So I like that.
Yeah. What do you like about what has been done in Northeast Nebraska, and what do you feel can be done better? And the way I speak about Northeast Nebraska, I'm talking about our bedroom communities, Madison, Pierce, Stanton, Battle Creek, all that travel to Norfolk. Do you feel that you make some of your decisions on council also based off of some of those communities because they are such a part of Norfolk?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, again, they use the term bedroom community, and like we talked about, I'm glad you come. Even though you may not live here, you still support this community.
I work here, so I got to.
So, and coming I'm pretty sure it's a pretty large percentage of folks that live in quote unquote the bedroom communities that work in Norfolk that still support this community, in some form or fashion. Spending money here, coming spending time here, and continuing to help us help the community overall grow. It can be even looked at as, okay, Norfolk is the suburb or the city, and then the outliers are the suburbs.
That's how I call it all the time.
Yeah, that come here. So absolutely, because when we look at it as a whole, and at least I do, and that's everybody. That's Pierce. That's Hater. And Battle Creek and. Hoskins, the ones that come in to help continue to support the community. They may go home and lay down somewhere else, but they're gonna come here and continue to support theirs and our community at the end of the day.
And a big chunk of them work in our industry here in town too. I believe a lot of it's Faith Regional, NIM, Nucor, places like that, which is also a great thing too. Do you think that you have the ability to bridge the gap between businesses, community organizations, and residents to serve the needs of all?
I hope so. That's not for me. That's the goal. To bridge the gap across the board, where there may feel a need that there is a gap, and that's through communication. Well, what are you lacking from your community leaders? What are you lacking from the businesses? What businesses? What are you lacking from your community? Is it just community support? And having those activities to get those questions answered. A la podcast, a la town hall. A la communication at the end of the day, a la knowing who to talk to, and when you see my name in the paper, you're not saying who. It's, I know him, I know her. I can give them a call, and it's knowing that we're available and people actually will talk to you and have that feedback and not blow you off at the end of the day, or not call you back. For 6 months, or you get the issue of, well, I called such and such, but I never heard from him back. Sorry, such and such is a country term. So and get those Kentucky roots.
Do the same thing. That's a Nebraska term.
Yeah, it is.
I've said that many times in my life.
What was I gonna say? I like that answer. That's a good answer.
I think a lot of people don't realize you guys are. I think some people realize your guys' information is literally on the city website. Some people know that. Not a lot of people do, though.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are able to be reached out to. So
cell phone, email, all on the website.
All that's there, and it kind of goes back to just what I said. Some people may not have access to the website.
Mm-hmm.
They like, I just don't want to use it. I don't like computers, or or whatever. It's public. It's public information. Maybe they should print in the paper every now and then, or maybe whatever the case may be. There's always going to be a gap of some of that. Sometimes that communication does not get out because it may be on the website, and a lot of folks don't have the internet, don't want the internet, don't have a computer, don't have no desire to have a computer, but they have a need for the community.
My argument to that is, it's available to anybody. You have a public library. Anybody that wants to find it can find it. Yeah. So that's a personal decision not to find that yourself. And so there will be people that you'll never reach, just because you're not going to make everybody happy. So at some point, I suppose we have to get to a percentage of the people to make them a little bit happy. And then, again, it goes back to, we've talked about it earlier on this podcast. It's personal responsibility. Mm-hmm. So you as a citizen, if you have an issue, like Zach said earlier, is or you said too, also, you got to reach out to get it. If you want your issue fixed, you have to raise your voice at some point. Somebody's not going to know. Not everybody's going to look for what your issues is. Just like you said with the sidewalks, it's something you don't notice. Yeah. So some people have to bring that to your attention to notice that. So if you don't want to take the personal responsibility to bring something to somebody's attention, you can't really bitch about it.
And now for all the people that will listen to this, I would say if to your point, the information's out there, you may not know where to go to look. A lot of us have friends, a lot of us have family, so. Yeah, hey, who's your councilman? Mm-hmm. Who's my councilman? Help me. I got a question. You may, as my friend or my daughter, son, may not know. We need to start asking those questions to the people that may be closest to us, our best friends. Can you help me? Because I don't want to deal with a computer. Yeah, I don't want to go to the library. Have those conversations. When you're having those discussions of, well, I don't like this or I don't like that. Hey, Dad, who's your councilman? Who's my councilman? We're already having those personal discussions at home with our friends and family, and expand it on who is
what we can do to fix it.
What can we do to fix it? Who do I contact? I don't have a lot of access. This is for the person that you may be. I don't have a lot, but I would like for them to have those conversations with the people that are close to them. So maybe to spur that. Well, Mr. Snorton is your councilman. I can look up his number. Yeah. So I can get it to you. Yeah, but just I would like for people to have that.
We're all having those conversations together right now. Like we're bitching about something. So if we're just gonna bitch about something together, let's bitch about and then figure out how we can Who do we need to talk to fix it?
To actually have a discussion on?
But that's why you're a city councilman. I'm not, because I'm a little harsh about it, and you just round those edges and be like, let's not just say screw them. Let's figure out a way to make them get to it.
So what I was going to say, I remember what I was going to say now. I said, hopefully after this podcast, nobody says who again. Is my thing.
Justin Snorton, who?
Like who? Like what?
That's the name of this podcast. Who?
So, yeah.
Touching base with who?
That's funny.
Justin.
And we've talked about this already, so maybe we don't need to really ask it, but transparency and accountability are very important. What steps would you take to make sure that the public is informed?
Continue communication on all platforms that I have, and that's one reason why, I did not hesitate on taking this opportunity to talk to you guys. I probably sweated through, in every piece of clothing that I have, even driving up the driveway, but that's a part of it. Being available and letting people know that I am available, and all the councilmen, are available. That's why our information is public. If you see me, out in the street, no walking, just not laying in the street, but out in the street, out in the area of Norfolk, I'm gonna do my best to have a smile on my face, and so I'm approachable.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna look you in the eye, and and I'm gonna nod to you, and I'm gonna say hello. Sometimes I don't get that hello back. It kind of just why, But I'm going to be approachable. You may not know who I am. Like I said, a lot of people don't know who I am. I'm just another person, to them going into Hy-Vee outside and like a guy speaking to me or just saying hello. Everybody. And it's so funny when I first moved up here, it was like nuts. I was like, why is everybody waving at me when I pass by? What's those two fingers mean? I don't know what's happening here.
Is this the new flipping me off? What's going on? Get your ass out.
I was like, you're on the wrong side. Or like, who? Like, and and I'm late because they're like, hello, because I don't want to be rude, but they're a quarter way up the street. I hope they saw me, but just in public, being personable and being approachable. I don't go up and say, hey, I'm City Councilman Justin Snorton, because that's still a little uneasy to me.
Yeah.
It just feels like boastful sometimes, or I think I'm always approachable. I'm not threatening at all at 5'5", but yeah, just go back to answer your question. I kind of get curtailed off
You're
there.
Good.
But having that approachability, being able to respond to people that reach out to me on any levels, and again that turns into word of mouth. Like, well, Mrs. Norton, he did respond to me. He gave me a crap answer, or he gave me a solid answer.
Yeah.
And that's just a lot of way to help transparency. Of course, with the city council, that's videotaped. It's on YouTube. It's on a couple of different platforms. Again, kind of goes back to the computer thing.
Yeah.
Some people may not watch it. Some people may not have the opportunity to. But you said, Vance, information's out there. Conversations can be had.
Going kind of back to that where you said it's on YouTube, I realize a lot of the people that bitch about things that happen, they're doing it on platforms that the information is on that platform, and they don't take the time
to find it
to see what the video is, or they'll bitch about a conversation or a vote or something that is literally on YouTube. Like you said, it's on YouTube. That the whole conversation was there, but you're going to bitch about what the headline that just happened and not watch the debate or the conversation that happened. Like, come on, guys.
I will say, as far as communication, you were the first one to respond back to me and the first one to say, yes, let's do that.
Well,
So
it's good.
And I try to practice what I preach, because I took this opportunity not to shy away from anything. Usually I'm pretty well laid back, relaxed. I don't want to be in the forefront, but when this opportunity was presented to me, I felt like, how many opportunities am I gonna have to give back? It would do the city of Norfolk, the city council, the mayor, and all the staff at this service if I didn't respond, at least in some way, even if I said no. to you or anybody else. It would do everybody a disservice, and I wouldn't be doing the thing that I set out to do, is be a responsible steward. And I wanted to also be able to put myself out there to say, hey, this is who I am. You got the opportunity to figure out who I am, to know me, to hear my voice. And yeah, I am kind of have we got, what's going on with TikTok? Have we got on videos yet? You know, I fixed my hair for this. At the end of the day, I heard that on other podcasts. But, you know, just being, you know, accessible, being honest and true, and not shying away from hard questions, shying away from being, you know, in front of mic, in front of the camera. Because I want to be responsible. I want to, you know, be a voice for the citizens of Norfolk. And, you know, my target is the entire city, but I want to continue to focus on some of those citizens that may not feel like they're being heard, and hopefully get some of the issues corrected that they're asking for. And, you know, they're not just asked. A lot of those are needs, you know, that's needed.
Anybody that asks something, it's a need to them. I mean, if anybody's got an issue with something, in their mind, that's a need, like no matter what it is. So,
it's important to them.
It's worth it. Everybody deserves the respect to have it looked into, whether it's right or wrong. It doesn't, whatever the outcome may or may not be, but they deserve. Every citizen that pays taxes and votes and does all this stuff, even not votes, but every citizen that pays taxes and brings an issue to somebody deserves their voice to be heard.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I answer phone calls. Yep. And if I don't answer, that's why I call you back. Yep. and I'll listen. And I'll try and I'll understand. I try and understand and get you an answer. Like I said, I haven't had a multitude of calls, but the ones I've had, I think everybody would say he called me back, he listened to me, and we got a resolution one way or another, whether I liked it or not. It was out there for them.
That's great. You won't be who anymore, so you get more phone calls.
Yeah, you get more phone calls now.
And you know what? I don't mind that. That's, you know, honestly, that's
how we get better.
Yeah, that's how we get better. That's how I learn. Because you know, at the onset of this conversation, like I said, it doesn't take a year. It's so much.
Takes time
to understand and learn. And you don't want to go out there and say, "Oh yeah, we can do this, we can do that," and you know, 4 or 5 years later, it's like, man, he lied to me.
Yeah.
So.
Do you feel that Norfolk is heading in the right direction? And where do you see the city in 5 to 10 years?
I do. I feel like Norfolk has a good base, a good balance. I think we're continuing to communicate better to get those questions asked. Again, like Vance said, we can't please all the people all the time, but we're on our way to satisfying the needs of the many. Those are tough decisions because a lot of times it does involve a financial commitment. A lot of times it causes strife with traffic and changing roads and cones and everything. But that's progress. Mm-hmm. I think Norfolk going forward will continue to thrive with the infrastructure updates, the road updates. People are looking to invest in Norfolk to help it grow, a la Johnson Park, and then going down to the new development that an investor is willing to, you know, put a lot of his own money up to continue to help grow. And then that's going to spread to those areas that we talked about earlier that are in progress to grow and get updated like downtown is. So yeah, absolutely. There's going to be growth. There is going to be infrastructure there's going to be continued support for the community.
That's good. Good answers. Those were all the questions that we had ready for you. But we do have some listener questions that we want to jump into. Are you okay with taking a quick pause before we get into those? Or do you need to get out of here?
Right on time. Well, you're a little late, you know. I think I've averaged up you about an hour 10 on your bathroom break.
I know. We went. I was going to try to get through the rest of them. I'm like, I literally just
sent a text message to you. I'm asking if you want to do that.
Let's take a quick pause.
I was hoping that's where he was going.
All right.
We're back. Gotta have that hour pee break, I guess, again. We're going to get into the listener questions. So these are questions we took from Facebook, TikTok. We got them messaged to us personally. So they're verbatim at the way they were asked to us. What do you see as the greatest need for Norfolk?
I think it's still the infrastructure piece.
Mm-hmm.
And, make sure we're building that up so in Norfolk continue to grow. And secondly, 1A or 1B communication.
Mm-hmm.
The need for Norfolk and the Norfolk community, from my perspective, is that infrastructure and being able to openly have talk about the things that may bother you, dismay you, and why that is. You know, if you have an issue with something, let's understand why, and then understand the how to meet in the middle, the how to get that balance, or why it's being done the way it's being done. You know, I don't want to necessarily always want to put the onus back on the complainer or the people or a person that may be asking the question, but we have to figure out how to come to a resolution. We're not going to make everybody happy, but we have to be able to have those communications. We have to be able to know that things are being done openly and honestly as absolutely possible to continue to grow. You know, that's progress. It may not look like it, you know, at the beginning, but there's typically an end result. So, you know, infrastructure, communication, support for one another.
Are we missing the mark when it comes to caring for citizens?
I don't think we're missing the mark. I think we sometimes put hyper focus on things. And we kind of talked about it before with downtown. We had so much hyper focus, so much conversation about it. People felt like they were being neglected. I think people just want their voices heard, and then once they're heard, they want to see some type of result. They want action, some type of action, some feedback. I mean, sometimes the action is not physically tangible, but it may be, hey, I understand this is what we're doing. It's not going to be today. It's not going to be tomorrow. And I'll keep in contact with you. Here's my number. You keep in contact with me. You know, let's get to the end. Let's get a resolution. So, you know, overlooked. I know we can do better. I think I gave some examples of that earlier, and those things are in place. It's just going to take time.
I like that. That's good. I like that a lot. We kind of talked about this a little bit already, but apartment needs were a big push for Norfolk, but the cost of rent for a 600 square foot apartment is $1,100. Do you see a way to fix the housing problem?
Well, you know, one way to fix this is build more, you know, and have competition and, you know, almost saturate the market, you know, and that sounds awful. But across the board, United States, housing and rental prices have absolutely gone through the roof. You know, and unfortunately, that's filtered down to the communities our size, because there's an opportunity here, you know, and begrudgingly, easily, or, you know, pinching every penny, that rent's getting paid for the most part for folks. Would I like to see it go down? If I had a quick and easy answer to help it go down, then yeah, absolutely. Because you want to be comfortable. You want to be able to, you know, have that quality of life and enjoy things, and then that stretches it, because, you know, you got to have a roof for your head, for your family, yourself and your family. But with the environment the way it's being dictated now and filtered down to smaller communities, that's almost an impossible feat, you know, at this point in time.
I would have to agree. It's a tough discussion to have. What kind of community involvement can we expect from you? I
hate to start it off like that. But I want to continue to be out in the community. I have started going to as many events as I can. Ribbon cuttings, Salvation Army, Mosaic, just to name a couple. But any event that I'm in town for and able to go to and just make my presence known, introduce myself, to the citizens, and again, continue to be out there and, find opportunities to be out there, whether it be starting a town hall or the podcast or just door to door and, in my ward or, in the communities, just having that visibility. But I did start with the open houses because I do that information had come to me, and at first it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. I got so much other stuff to do.
It's kind of hard. You can't make everything.
No, you can.
You'll never be able to make everything.
You can't. Now, obviously, I can't because there's a couple that I'm out of town for.
Yeah, you don't have a job,
but I'm just trying. I got to make that concerted effort, and that's what I've wanted to do, and that's what I'm trying to do. And then I've elicited other voices. Hey, what else can I do? You've been a part of this community. What else is the need? One of the big pushes was also when I got on council, and I mentioned it, is visiting the directors. My first stop was the police station. I've been to the fire station, letting that piece of the community know who I am.
Yeah.
Visiting the facilities that are opening up, and then just being visible and being anywhere that I can, that there's a community event. And again, a lot of times I'm still a little gun shy. Not that I think I'm going to get negative feedback or any issues, but I just not hate, but I don't want to be like, I'm Councilman Snorton. You know, it's like, I'm here.
You want it organic.
Yeah. I want it. Yeah, definitely want organic. I just don't want to be aggressive or anything like that. Cause even in Hy-Vee, when I wave to somebody and I say hello, and it was like, oh, I said I was a councilman. There's been like a lot of times when I said, man, I should have said I've had a conversation with a councilman. And when I do say it, it's like, it's aggressive. That's like, okay.
Well, I like how when you brought that whole being approachable up, it just made me think like I need to work harder in that, because I'm not. I have an RBF. I do. I have a resting bitch face, and it's not a mean thing. It's just I'm in my own world, and I may not look approachable. I am. I'll talk to anybody in the world. I don't really care. But some people are like, I'm just gonna let him go. I could be having the best day in the world. It looks like my dog died 10 minutes ago.
Are you open to actively showing support to all diverse groups in the community?
Well, being a part of one of those diverse groups, absolutely. And that's such a big question for me, because you always want to say yes, but not only just saying yes, but you want to be genuine about it.
Yeah.
I want to be here for the people. I know there's diverse groups, but I just want to embrace all the people. Like the people in Norfolk embrace me.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what.
Yeah. Just people. You want to be there for everybody. Embrace everybody.
Just people. Because I felt that. I'm a minority.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was coming to. I had no idea what the dynamic was here. And I felt at home. And that's what I would want everybody to feel, whether they're from here or moving here.
Right.
Whoever you are.
Yeah.
I want you to feel what I felt when I got here, and the reason why I'm staying here.
And the next question is kind of along the same lines. What support will you provide in regards to minorities in the community to make them feel represented?
Show up. Honesty, responsibility, callbacks, communication. That's the common thing, I think, for this today in this podcast. Anybody that stops me has a concern, I'm going to help them. I'll show up to your any event, whether invited directly or I know what's going on. It's a public event. I've had people reach out to me and say, I'm having issues with, we'll say, a church, and we need some help. Absolutely. Tell me what you need. And it was a minority church. Tell me what you need. Tell me what the issue is. I need to understand it so I can figure out how to help. And that would go for anybody. If you have a need that I can help you with or direct you in that path to get that help you need, because it's one, that's going to put you on getting the help you need. Two, that's going to be a learning experience for me. Three, that's going to have that communication of the need of that group. So I understand, okay, this is where we have a gap. Is this a short gap, or is it a continued gap? Is it going to be a yearly thing, a monthly thing that, hey, I need help here? If we close it now, is it going to be open in 6 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
How do we continue to help the people in our community? Diversity, general, whatever. Just being able to do that and then have those responsible answers back, helping them in the long term.
And when we see these questions, and it was a great answer, we feel, as a community, everybody's here. We're all one community, whether we can help this minority group or this diverse group over here, we think we're all benefiting each other.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
That's how we kind of see it too.
And that's what community is. We have our disagreements, but at the end of the day, and we said earlier, we band together and we help each other. In need, we may not be standing on the same sides, certain subjects, but when it comes down to it, we want to genuinely help. If you needed me, I would come and help you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not move.
Yeah.
But
Anything but move.
Anything but move.
I'm there too.
No, you're on your own, buddy.
That's funny.
And that kind of goes back to you on the, when we look at these questions sometimes and we don't see it, and that goes back to you with the sidewalk thing. Like, you just don't see it. Like, it doesn't affect us. So maybe that's partly us, is we're not putting ourselves in that shoe to see the need for that type of a question or type of an answer. So I like the way you articulated it, and it's really informative.
And it's so hard.
Yeah.
Because you are who you are. You got whatever capabilities that you have. And like I said, I didn't recognize it even standing there talking.
Yeah.
Until I saw it and actually felt it and understood that that aspect of it.
Very interesting. So now we're going to get a little political. We ask these questions to everybody on Touching Base, not just you candidates. How do you feel about where the state of the country is right now, and do you feel that we are being well represented at the federal and state levels?
I feel like it's a challenge across the board, and it has been a challenge for quite some time. The federal level definitely has perpetuated a lot of situations, and I dare to say a lot of division. Because sometimes you there's always been the sentiment, okay, you stand on one side or the other, and we may argue, we may fight, but that's been typically the end of it. I'm feel the way I feel, you feel the way you feel, Democrat, Republican, whatever the case may be, independent, liberal, whatever. Now it's turned into more of personal, more of, you don't step on my lawn, for lack of a better term. We can't
stop looking at people as humans.
Yeah.
At times.
Yeah. So, that, unfortunately, that division is there. And, I knew that you were going to ask me this question, and I pondered on it. And I think everybody knows we have that division, and this is hard. And it definitely pulls at me, but it's a part of our creed, part of our motto. United we stand, divided we fall. I mean, we repeat that, but do we live it?
Mm-hmm.
We can be on opposite sides of the spectrum, but you know what's going to happen? United we stand, divided we fall at the end of the day. And that is a part of the American fabric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right now we feel so divided.
There's more division now than there probably ever has been.
Yeah. And, outwardly and, brazenly, which is scary, which is sad, because it is scary. It's like, I don't want to voice my opinion, or I don't want to have an opposite opinion of you, because it does get personal. It does get heated, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've never heard. It's kind of. I mean, it's crazy you put you said it that way. That's a whole.
I enjoy that. That was good.
Yeah,
We have nobody has ever quite answered it quite like that. I like that. Do you feel that the systems that are in place still work in today's time, and that is going to be your two-party system?
What other options that we're going to have? The only thing that I wish we could make adjustments to is career politicians. I've never been, and I don't consider myself political, so to speak, because it's such a hot topic, and it gets people riled up. And I've never been one for immediate confrontation, because a lot of times it was always, I get the headlines, I get the surface stuff, like I admitted to before. So I'm going to have just like one small nugget of, I got you. And then if somebody's read, somebody's got, an opinion, it's like, ooh, didn't think about that. But what other options are we going to have? Then if we do get another options, when we're going to agree on it.
Right.
But just career politicians does not really sit well, because I think it just really needs fresh ideas. Yep. And again, this is one thing that I don't know the full background, but it's really tough for me to say the more mature, I'm not going to call out any age numbers, but the highly advanced senator, congressman, voting or maybe not fully aware of what's going on on the floor in front of them, and so that makes it difficult. I would just really like that to be adjusted in some way. And
I agree with you.
Definitely, and this is my own personal opinion, personal outlook on it, and it's taken tidbits from other areas. A lot of the politicians have started from somewhere, started from rural areas, or saw a need of, hey, I need to go in and make a change because my community is not getting represented properly. We're not getting the funds we need. Whatever the case, this person became a politician, barring or outside of the ones that had fathers that were politicians, but the ones that we'll call them grassroots. My people need something. I'm going to fight for my people, and I went in to that position as a farmer or car wash or whatever, making $50,000. How the heck you gonna tell me that now you're a millionaire?
Yeah, that's right.
What?
Yeah, that's where we at.
Where that doesn't compute.
It doesn't make sense.
That's just really tough for me. And again, there's a flip side of that coin. There's a lot of things going on. There's lobbyists. There's influence, and we're all human. And influence is tough. Mm-hmm. And when you're presented with something that is the golden ticket, and all I got to do is say yes to this one measly bill, then what is that? Yeah. That's one measly bill. Real quick. That's Johnson Park. That's great. What are they doing here? This is nuts. And that one measly little piece could turn in something great. Well, just like that one measly bill, that don't mean nothing. But what's going to be greater at the end that lobbyist or whatever is going to put in front of you that, okay, well, you did this before, and here's the gold ticket. Now, again, my opinion, but outside looking in, that's what it feels like, because it's really tough to go in making $50,000 a year and now
become a millionaire
and become a millionaire.
Or never having ever held a private job. Yeah. And somebody like a Bernie Sanders has had nothing but public jobs his entire life. He's a multimillionaire.
Yep.
That means we're literally paying for somebody like that has never contributed to society. Yeah, he's been a senator or whatever, but that's not. You're not literally contributing to what we do here. Like, I mean, we all do something. We all.
And it's a lot of backroom deals like you're talking about.
Yeah.
It just.
I talk a lot about the uniparty. Like, it's just, it's a 2-party system, but it's when they get to Washington, it's just one party against all of us.
I'll pat your back, you pat my back on the next one, and we'll all be happy.
It's hard to fight against power and influence, once you're there, and as an individual. And I think we all know that there's, there's a hierarchy in place, there's systems in place, and there's pressure points. So it's easy for a person to get boxed in, and and feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, definitely. Where do you see yourself going in the future? Are you enjoying where you are? Obviously, you've been here for 20 years. Do you see yourself staying in Northeast Nebraska?
Absolutely. I do have younger daughters, and they do live in Sioux City. That was my only thought of making an adjustment, because and again, this is personal. I'm super close to them, and just because now they're my younger ones, and I have time to be a father, not a dad. So I was able to have that time to be super close to them. So I know this is a long answer.
Well,
so I didn't want my ex-wife and our separation to hinder them. So, and what I mean by that, as they grow older, they want to be with their friends. They want to go to parties, and that was my thought. I don't want to make them come here and then be mad at me because I can't go to Susie's party. I at least want to be close so they can still enjoy that. And, if it's my weekend, and so, I know it's just a bigger thought process, but I don't have any plans to move from, this area. But if that ever became, an issue, where they resented coming, I don't think they would. And I don't want to, I didn't even want them to make that choice. I'm the parent. If I had to rent a townhouse up there and pay $1,500 a month for be up there,
right.
twice a week, that's what I would do.
Right.
So they can enjoy, go to those parties and still have time with me, and I still have time with them, because that's highly important. That's highly important to me. We'll
Family's
just move
important.
on. Yeah, we'll move on because that. So yeah, all my kids, and especially those two. But I have, to answer your question, I have no qualms about ever leaving. But if I did get a summer home, it would be in Iowa.
Interesting.
In Iowa, nobody here likes Iowa.
Oh, that's why I would be part time.
So now we want to give you 2 minutes uninterrupted to give whatever thoughts you want to the listeners. So go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, I think right now we have a great system in place. We are continuing to grow. Again, I think if the sentiment's been across, I appreciate everything that Norfolk has given me. They've allowed me the opportunity to grow from where I came from. This area gave me sight to see that I was just more than a single individual just working for $1, that there was greater things that I could do. Ambition. I saw the work ethic in people. I saw the work ethic in young people that were achieving things in their mid-20s where I never even thought about. In service, and allowing myself to be a service to the people of Norfolk. And I don't want this to be rhetoric. I don't want this to be fluff. Why I am back or want to run again, or be back in that councilman seat, is not for any personal gain, but to support the community, again, to support me. And the gentleman that's running against me, to me, it's not my opponent. To me, it's not my competitor. It's another person that I would feel care about the community. So if I got the seat or he got the seat, that would be my aspect and hope. I'm seeing, a lot of people see their opponent as an enemy or, as an opponent adversary. I don't know the gentleman personally, but my feeling would be that he's, he wants to support Norfolk across the board, and that's all I want as well. So, I appreciate the people of Norfolk. and I want to continue whether in whatever capacity. Now that may be they feel like I'm a good candidate and want me to continue on and grow, and then absolutely I'll do that. Like I said earlier, this is a position that's not something you're going to pick up in a year, pick up in 2 years. It's going to take a little bit of time. So I just ask that whoever that takes a seat, they give them time, and they offer communication. They reach out to me. They look on the website. I'm not going to put my number out, but it's already out there at the end of the day. Heck, I think even my address is out there. In some form or fashion. I feel like we can continue to grow. I feel like we continue to be a community and come together, no matter what side of the spectrum that we reside on, and having these conversations. You may not agree with me. I may not agree with you, but at the end of the day, we're gonna walk out of that room and have a handshake.
Yep.
If I see you at 401 or wherever, David's, I'll nod, say hello, and then we can have a conversation. If not, we can walk by each other. But we are a community. We are the people that continue to drive this council members change. They have for years and years and years and years and years, and we're still here.
Yep.
Community is still here. The people are still here. We're still going to continue to grow and hopefully support one another through good conversation, good feedback, and responsibility, at the end of the day.
True.
Awesome.
That's true. This has been a great conversation with you. I learned a lot about you. I think this was great. I think all these are great. But I think anybody out there in Ward 3 definitely give this a listen, and everybody in the community give it a listen. We really appreciate.
I just want to say, and even if you're only in Ward 3, listen to all the wards.
Yeah, listen to all the wards.
Technically, you're only representing Ward 3, but you represent the rest of the town too.
The whole city.
The only Ward 3 can vote for you, but the rest of the town you're representing in a way, also the areas you represent that area a little bit, the hub of Northeast Nebraska that we talk about. But I want everybody to listen to everybody's podcast, all these
all
candidates.
Yeah, and the other thing is word of mouth is going to be big for us too. So make sure if you guys are listening to this, tell your friends. Facebook and social media only does us so much justice. So.
And we're not trying to attack anybody.
No, not whatsoever.
Even if you're listening to the podcast, don't attack the people that we're on.
Don't attack them. Yeah, just have open discussion. Educated discussion.
100%.
But Justin, we really appreciate you making time to be here today and give us in the community your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Hopefully I get to come back again at some other capacity. But appreciate you guys, in taking the time, and then again, this is what it's all about, following your dream. It didn't happen overnight. It had to grow into this from the idea and the execution. So thank you for continuing to move forward. Thank you for the execution, and thank you for giving all of us a platform to speak about the community of Norfolk. Appreciate it.
No problem. Big thanks to our producer Ryan Battershaw, co-host Vance Neidig, and we will see you all next week.